Hello, lovelies. Hope you're having an amazing blue storm wave spell. So I'm making this on day 3 of the wave spell, the magical alchemy day, because there's lots happening today. So it's Sunday, August the 7th, 2022. And today we also begin the next 20-day cycle. And so we're here on red electric dragon, and this is back on. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We're now in the 5th column of alchemy. So the first 20 was back on the 19th of May, also an Akashic portal day. Red magnetic dragon initiating this 260-day cycle in Taurus, seeing what's manifest. Then we went through integrating what our Great Mother is bringing us for our conscious evolution, planet Neptune, illusions and delusions being identified and cleared internally in order to reflect a different holograph externally. Very important part of the process of integration, so that we then integrate with the sun, the galactic sun that's bringing as a conscious code coming in. Then we had number 2, lunar, and then we had the gateway point number 9. So each of these 20-day processes, so the first one initiating it, the next one integrating it, the emotional story, the new learning, then the alchemy of the moon story, the emotional delusion and illusion, then the gateway, so passing through that, which we've just completed. How has that been for you? Pretty challenging, I think, for most people because of that North Node conjunct Uranus and Mars at 18 degrees of Taurus. That's been a biggie for everyone I've been speaking to. So I think it's really been showing us just what we are embodying. And even though our ego, the part of us, the survival code, the delusional bit as well, that often thinks it can do anything, no matter how old we are, still thinks it's 18, and again, you can use that degree as a metaphor for what was happening for you when you were 18, because that's another big gateway point, because that is the North Node cycle. Every 18 and a half years, on a personal level, we experience our own Persephone path, I call it. That's a workshop I've been running for years for women, which intuitively I came across. So you look up Persephone and her story and how she was abducted. Again, this time in our life is always showing us what needs to be healed on our path in order to follow the spiritual path, which is not what we've been conditioned to believe. So can be very challenging for the ego mind. And again, when people talk about dark night of the soul, I feel that's a bit of a misnomer, because it's really dark night of the ego, and the soul is the eternal part of us that's coming here, in my belief, to shift this human story that we've incarnated into. So remember, the most important thing for each one of us is to become an expert on ourselves, our story, and start rewriting it, doing the emotional healing. So we've had all of these going on, and now we're on the 5th one. So we're coming into mastery. So we've got 20 days of the mastery, and the number is alchemically changing. So the electric, okay, which again, if you go through your tones, so you've got these initial tones. So again, you can look at it in lots of different ways. This is the wonder of the calendar. The electric number is blue night, being the conscious dreamer. And so we go back to the initial 13-day process. what the Great Mother is bringing us for our conscious evolution, which our ego will resist until we have rewired it enough so that it says, okay, I surrender to divine will and I know that there are changes coming for me. Then we get our spirit can come in more and guide us. Uranus, what's coming up to light, very key for today as well. The light bringer, illumination, busting us out of our paradigms and our own comfort zone cocoons that our egos created in order to help us survive. And change is it. You know, change is what we're here to do at this time, and all the conditions are there to do it. So when we get to day 3, what is the hell story? Because remember, we're in the 52-day process of Red Skywalker now. We're in this area in the white. And so we are looking to refine what happened in the first 52 days of what the Great Mother brought us. We are now in the Skywalker shift. And again, so there we are. And so lots of things tying in with this today as well, especially with the cards. And so here we are back here. So the White Castle of Refinement, and we're in the blue cycle of that, which is Blue Storm, the 19th. It began here. And so Blue Storm's planet is Pluto, and this ties in with the Persephone Path story, the North Node story, because Pluto, also known as Hades, comes and abducts Persephone and takes her into the underworld. And this is also tied into lots of historical stories around the world where, again, also Venus goes down into the underworld to become the evening star and then rises again to become the morning star. So lots of stuff there for you to look at if you're ready to do that. And on the outside, on the general bigger picture around astrology and also the cycles, and what this calendar is all about is maturation, Venus. And so also recognizing that Blue Storm is a mastery process, and it's twinned with Yellow Sun. And so we're in a mastery process now. And the process really is about becoming the observer, and not just intellectually, but embodying the observer. So actually marrying that part of ourselves up where we've shifted enough of our hell story in order to, first of all, not be feeling and carrying that in our amygdala, so we can stay in our center more because we're not getting emotionally triggered. And when things happen, we're a lot more grounded. We are powerful because we've called back in all our fragmentation points, stories, experiences, our ancestors' stories and experiences as well. And this is also a clear sign process, and that is happening on next Saturday, I think that is. Let's have a look. I've written this down. Yeah, I've got a lot going on at the moment, so lots of planning and activities going on, so lots in my head. Yes, so it's Saturday is Blue Solar Hand Day. That's my mind day. And it's a clear sign. And so solar days, day 9s, are about spirit. And so again, if you see that as the galactic sun, solar, how we are rewiring our personality story, which is our sun sign, in order to embody our rising sign, our spirit self, that is taking us through a gateway, through emotional healing, through working with all our triggers, and also remember, because we're in the White Castle, we're taking action. So just to remind you, the first 13 days was Red Skywalker, creating heaven on earth. The 13th Mayan sign, the embodiment, the human being is changing that inner structure, the emotional structure, the amygdala, the heart, rewiring that so that we can create a different experience. Then we refine that with White World Bridger, that is twinned with Red Skywalker, because they both have Mars as their planet. And Mars in Taurus, again, like we've had this huge North Node conjunction showing us, even though up here, or our ego, another way of looking at that, thinks that we can do the same things our whole life, because it doesn't have the capacity to change that unless we're working on a deep level with that and rewiring it and becoming mature. Then again, this is at Uranus opposition time in our life, around the age of 41, 42, when Uranus goes into the opposite position that it was at our birth. So bringing the Kundalini up, bringing the illumination up, what we can call a midlife crisis. And that simply means, on another level, is we're reprogramming ourselves to remember who we really are, rather than this 3D conditioned mindset that is absolutely not who we are and is very limiting. So moving from step 12s to step 13s and getting off limiting structures around that. So we've been through the Red Skywalker, we've been through the White World Bridger, and we've got the full moon is going to be on day 8, so on Friday coming up. That will be White Galactic World Bridger Day, and that's also my granddad's day on my patriarchal line, William Kenworthy. And I've just been going through lots of old paperwork and photographs with my mum, and this is also her wave spell as well. So she is day 7 of it, so she's the day before. And as we go through these more and more, looking at how we can tie all of this in and give that awareness, because the patterns are what we're here to rewire. So to have that intellectual understanding, take action, know what our Achilles heel was for our family. What's that constant theme that's been coming up around disempowerment? And this is a shared thing as well. So we've got lots of people in the world who have been living out a program that is disempowering and suppressing their true creativity and nature. And this, of course, is being overturned now. And we overturn it by doing this personal healing. So on the day of the full moon, so we've got that coming up in this wave spell, and that coming up in this 20-day cycle. How can we let go of old worlds? How can we take action? How can we release what is no longer serving us? Because at this time, this is a real survival point as well. We can't keep the old survival coping mechanisms either in order to thrive. And it's having the courage to really focus on yourself and that inner work in order to keep you in your center when we're going through this huge storm that's happening now, so that we can make wise decisions, we can be where we need to be, because by Scorpio time, there are going to be big challenges on planet Earth. And so on a personal level, we need to be getting in a really good space. So with each wave spell, each day we can connect to the energy. If it's your wave spell, it's a powerful time for dreaming, for journeying, for setting an intention with your ancestors as to how we're going to make this new shift around this Aquarius time. And the Aquarius full moon is at 19 degrees. So again, matching in with this blue storm, fantastic synchronicity there. So I'm just going to read you that. Okay, so Aquarius 19, loud crushing noises as a glacier moves. The indomitable spirit of one who has been at this forever and will still be on collective karmic alert to the very end. Purpose hugely takes precedence. Whatever is changing and whatever is staying the same are the two forces you track with and report back to cosmic center upon. You're being driven to the utmost to observe and witness objectively and dispassionately all the decisive and epochal shifts and pressures in the collective mix, eyes wide open in the dark. Attention riveted to trends and turning points and yielded up to a long ago agreed to code of recording and evaluating all the relevant data so that the cosmic forces can determine what is happening way down here and can fine-tune their ways to evolve the situation optimally. So that all concerned can synchronize with the greater ways and be released from anything and everything that runs counter to the bright promise of Earth evolution. Wow, that's a nice one, isn't it? Okay, so in doing this work that I've been doing around, apologies for the noise in the background. This work that I've been doing for 15 years now, doing the healing work with the amygdala, with emotional freedom technique. My experience has been there are very few people who want to do this work and who are committed to it in healing their shadow. And I've seen a lot of people not do the work and become very ill. I can only go off my experience and understanding of that. We have to do the work and we have to emotionally heal. And on top of that, with the astrology and the Mayan calendar for the last 11 years, my understanding, again, it's all written, it's already written in our charts. And that, I don't mean that's fated. I mean, the guidelines are there as to the patterns and the codes that we're here to work through. And I totally believe that we can go through gateway after gateway after gateway if we do the work. And I have many clients who have asked me questions about relationship and trajectory for people who are making choices around not focusing on their health, carrying on with old behaviors of toxicity, and also making choices that are very harmful to them. And what will the outcome be? And all I can say is, it is what it is. And, you know, it's time that we really addressed the practical, down to earth, is what it is aspects and freed ourselves from the delusions and illusions. If you watch back on my videos, I've always been saying this. What really challenges me is seeing people suffer because of their choices, me included, of course. So what's coming to light for us is that we are human beings and we have a spirit on board, and our human body has been designed within certain parameters, and often the ego will try and push beyond those in order to get its will met, because it hasn't had the healing that it needs and it's stuck in a survival mode. So the most important thing that I know to be true from my own experience is that we have a storyline and we can rewrite it. And that is not just intellectual, that is emotional. And nobody can do that for us. People can help us with that process, but they cannot do it for us. So the more that we learn, again, number 7 is blue hand. The more we learn about how to work with these, all these tools are here now to do this. And again, if you look at the divine storyline, even though it's challenging and tough because certain groups of people are pushing their unhealthy ego to the max, this is part of the plan to get people to make the changes, because otherwise, unless most people are forced to react, they're not proactive. And that's again part of the wiring. So cards for today that I have chosen that reflect me, that will reflect you in some way, because you're part of my circle if you're watching this. And we're all part of this circle on many levels, many threads. Okay, so we've got White World Bridger. So it's going to be a big day on the full moon. And you're seeing this whole time where you're not in your center. So remember the full moon in Aquarius, the new way of being, the epoch that we're going into that hasn't been there for around 20,000 years, is about becoming emotionally free and solution focused. And what that means to me is that we stop doing stuff that harms us. Therefore, we stop having the emotional wounding in the same way, and we start to align with things that are healthy for us, and we stop doing emotional drama. We stop arguing, we stop trying to convert people. Everybody's on their own path. So this video and any of the communications that I make, I'm not taking responsibility for anybody else or their choices or trying to persuade you or anything. I'm just coming from my own experiential journey and sharing tools and wisdom that I have unlocked for myself. And my hope and wish for you is that you will do whatever it takes now to align with your highest potentiality, knowing that it is already pre-written, because we're in a holographic school of unlocking our own personal mystery, and then we can unlock the other mysteries. So for me today, this is another person that I know who lived in my house at one point, had White Galactic World Bridger, and his journey and experience taught me so much. Like, mind-blowing, totally mind-blowing. And a lot of that was very challenging indeed. And remembering that the challenges are where the growth edge is. So I've picked several cards today, and so I'm not going to put links for all of these. If you want to find these, the link that I use is Eli Tarot strikingly.com. I'll put a link for the last card. But I picked a selection. And again, this is something you can do with the wave spell. You can pick a 13 card spread for the whole lot and on the first day if you want. That's something I've done, and that's been amazing as well. So lots of fantastic ways to work with this. So we've got Princess of Swords, mindsets as a young woman or as the feminine side of ourselves. Knight of Wands, how we take action from spirit. Prince of Wands, that's a famous one for this deck because that is Aleister Crowley's card. How we choose to have our will with Leo. Are we coming from a healed space? Are we coming from an ego, hedonistic space? And remember, when you were a young person, how often, especially my age group, life was very hedonistic around activities, certainly my group of friends, and how that for some of them stuck and they're still doing the same things. And one of my good friends died last year because of that, because he didn't learn how to cope with his sensitivity, and just makes me so sad. But that was his path, and a great teacher for me too, and everybody who was around that energy. And of course, you know, many of my friends have been affected by that. And many friends that I was with in Crete, so again, this links into this wave spell because I went to Crete in 1986 on my Mayan day. Of course, I didn't know that back then. Most of the people, the young people that were there with me at the time, have all died because of alcohol. And just totally mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing. So we've got to make these changes that we need to make. Futility. So again, going back to the swords, and that's such a powerful card there around, again, rising up, the mystic. Number 7, changing our mindsets, and how futile it is to keep following the ego and the unhealed ego, who keep taking us down the same path over and over again, and how futile it is to trust your mind on its own, because it will lie to you. It will try and keep you in the comfort zone and doing the same behaviors. The 6 of Discs, success, very powerful card. And again, there's a strategy with that. If you look that up, coming into balance with what creates success. Well, success in terms of the spiritual path is coming into peace and harmony and love. It isn't anything to do with the 3D version. Happiness, the gateway. Again, what creates happiness is an inner state. And although we may acquire material things, periods of happiness and joy, the cycle revolves round and round. And of course, part of life is death. The 13th card, this is totally linked in to the Skywalker. And this is such a deep, deep card. So again, knowing that the bare bones of that is that this incarnation will end, that we're an eternal being. However, if we don't believe that we're an eternal being, that creates a whole mindset around that as well, which people can be very hedonistic and not care about what happens to the planet and other people if they're in that childlike state. And so, you know, all of what goes with that. That card is also linked to Scorpio, and it's linked to lots of process there around evolution of the survival mind. And again, recognizing that the dynamic that we're in is North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. It's bringing up all our past life issues. This is what the South Node represents in your chart. It's what it represents as well. So knowing your North Node and South Node. So for example, I've got North Node in Gemini. My mum has got North Node in Virgo at 29 degrees. That is a huge karmic pattern. And I have Venus in Virgo at 29 degrees, and my Venus is out of bounds this year. So again, I've only just learned this information. So this is the anaretic degree of how we can create a shift. Virgo, the mindset, aligning with source, spirit, goddess, free of the conditioned mindset of our generation, our family, our cellular level. All of this is really important. So one thing that I've done today as well, so every day I wake up with something channeled from source, and so I've just written this here, planning this out. Okay, so basically every blue hand cycle for me is tied into a blue 52-day process, and it's the same for everybody. And this has been amazing. I've been working with this for since the lockdown 2020. Okay, so first of all, blue storm wave spell is linked to Pluto. So again, the realization in writing this out is just phenomenal, is just wow. And so my mum incarnated in 1941 as a red resonant serpent. So everything that was resonating for her around relationship, around the asteroid belt, new consciousness coming in, her whole life process, my sign is the gateway point to heal that, release that, and let it go, and change our destiny because of that. So I've written out all the dates on that. And again, so timeline, she was born during a war. And there's such programming around war to do with anybody who's born into that timeline. When you're born into that, the mindset, what you experience, how that changes you, and all the things that happen to people in our society that we're now doing a repeat of, because the last time that Uranus was in Taurus was around this time of the war. So again, you can compile all of this together and use it on a really practical level to start to look at why were the patterns created in my family in that way, and what big events happened to my mum that shaped her perception and her mindset, and so on and so on. So I came in 1965, and also because I'm doing the 52-year cycles, because I've gone past that gateway now, and I'm in my final days, literally, of a 13-year cycle of blue hand. So I went into the next level of my Mayan elder year at 52 in 2017. And so again, what I've done is backtracked how old my mum was at that time and what happened to her in the years before. So her cycle, because she came in a year 7, the cycle actually began in 1935. My cycle actually began in 1957 when my mum was age 16. And so again, I've just got a whole another layer to be working with on that. But also today, because we're on day 3 of the blue storm wave spell, it's when I came to Glastonbury in 2011 at the age of 46. So at this time back then, and again, Facebook is great for this, showing me lots of memories there. This was my last birthday up in West Yorkshire before we moved here. And so once you start working at this level, if you choose to, and believe me, if you want to really get into the depth of it, this is what you've got to do, and to really work on this profound level. This is what all these frameworks are here for. So the other astrology that we've got today is, so we've got the moon at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. So again, that gateway point of healing. And this is building to this full moon. And again, if you remember, if you watch these videos and you've been part of my 52-day process. So we are currently in Taurus. We're seeing the manifestation. We're seeing embodiment at this time. Prior to this, we had Virgo, which began on the 1st of September and in 2021. Okay, and then prior to that, we had Sagittarius, which began in 2020. I can't remember the exact date. It was in December. And so again, you can use these bigger picture cycles. This is what they were all designed for, to look at, okay, what was my Akashic record coming up? What is my ancestral pattern? What's the mindsets that have been built on those experiences? And how can I heal that, change it, change my behavior, and change how I look after myself as a human being? Because if I don't look after myself, then other people who don't care about me as a sovereign being, as a sentient being, as a divine being, are going to use my energy and resources for themselves. And this is an ancient, ancient story, isn't it? So we've got the sun at 14 degrees of Leo. So if you're familiar with Christopher Witecki and his step process, so today we've got step number 1, which is Leo, and step number 4, which is Aquarius, which is Uranus, which is bringing us the format for the age of Aquarius coming in to be emotionally free, free of drama. It is what it is, logical. It doesn't mean that we don't do our emotions. Absolutely not. We're resetting our emotional sat-nav and coming into balance with that. It means that we're not emotionally driven because we are clear. We're clear of the old stories. We're clear of the old wounding. We're clear of the old behaviors. We have got Mercury has gone back into Virgo. So again, tune into your higher self around what's coming in to align with the sacred feminine. And Venus is going into Leo. And again, depending on where we are, let me just check I've got that in right. It's going to be going into Leo soon. It's showing us 24 degrees of Cancer at the moment. So again, we're still working with that 4th house. We're still working with our childhood, our home, where our patterns were created. We've got Mars at 22 degrees of Taurus today. So we've got the goddess code around that master builder number, and that amazing dynamic of what is looking to shift. Again, if you add those together, we've got number 4 there. Once Venus goes into Leo, we're really going to be focusing on that maturation. Remember, Leo is the childhood at age 5. It's our young ego, and bringing that into the wise ego. And so again, tomorrow we've got a very powerful day coming in here, which is going to be on day 4 of this cycle. We have got white self-existing wind, and so Uranus again is the planet, and we've got the Lion's Gate tomorrow on the 8th. So again, just amazing, powerful codes coming in around that. Also in number 8, we've got Jupiter at 8 degrees of Aries retrograde, and that's going to be significant to the full moon as well. We've got Saturn at 22 degrees of Aquarius. So again, this is an amazing number. Again, the number 4, bringing in the Mary Magdalene code, the sacred feminine, retrograde, going over old ground around this, how to rewire our Saturnian codes. We have got Uranus at 18 degrees of Taurus still, and this is going to continue for a long period of time. This is going to be very significant in October. So again, what we're creating now at this Leo time, at this magnetic moon time, is very, very powerful. And we've got Pluto retrograde at 26 degrees of Capricorn and Neptune at 25 degrees of Pisces retrograde today as well. So again, looking at where that is in your chart is really, really powerful. Okay, so I'm just going to look up the actual magnetic moon day today. So we're on moon 1 day 13. And tomorrow we'll be on, in the Lion's Gate, we'll be on day 40. And so again, that ties in with the moon goddess of White Wizard, Ixchel. You can use these decoders, you can use these calendars to really work powerfully with conscious awareness for planning key dates, you know, where you're going, what you're doing. On my birthday, on the 18th of August, I will be starting a new 13-year cycle of Yellow Human. And then looking at a key date for me going to Mexico, which is on the 29th, which will be Blue Crystal Night, which again, I can future base that as well, because on that day, that is going to be significant to year 12 for me on my Yellow Human 13-year process. So what will I be living at that time? What will the planet be like? Feels a bit of a stretch, doesn't it, right now, to even plan next week, I think, a lot of the time. And I know people are struggling with that. What can I plan? What's going to happen? How will rules change? Maybe about travel, health, work. We've now been through 2 years worth of extreme control structures and having to navigate our way through that, and how that makes us feel, what awareness we have around that energy as well, and how that affects our choices. And remember that the key choice is always about working within. That's what changes the outside. That's where the energy is best focused on bringing ourselves into peace no matter what's happening on the outside. Being diligent, doing our due diligence, doing our research, getting to the heart of the matter, getting to the truth of things within. The more that we know about patterns and processes, the more we can totally see what is the truth of the pattern And so, although there may be denial around that from people in our circle, the pattern is there. And so, becoming a powerful pattern seer is very empowering. And then just focusing on using emotional freedom technique will help you with your triggers. We're being shown where our center is, where our embodiment is now. It's not where our mind thinks it is, but our mind will show us where the old stories are and how to clear them. And that is the gateway to this process. That's my mind day. It's about getting clear of these emotional stories. And so then we embody the new dream. That's what we're here for. And that dream is foretold, it's in the ancient prophecies. It does mean at this time we're having to go through a very dark birthing tunnel to come out the other side. So it's time to really focus on our own personal energy and staying alive, living our legacy, if that's what we're here to do. Let everybody live their own holograph, because that's how it is written. And just work on whatever fears we have around what may happen in the future, remembering that we're at the next stage of that astrology for each country, for each state, for each local county area. So be mindful of that, where you are living. Maybe get to know something about that, the local history, what you're working with in that area. What is the wounding? Because the wounding is it. The wounding is what has to be focused on. The denial times are over for those who are going to be the bringers of the new dawn. So, wishing you lots of love with your Lionsgate tomorrow. And I hope you have an amazing time of integration and embodiment and seeing your future. Because remember, it's all running simultaneously. Your highest purpose, your personal legacy, and your heartfelt dream and desire for humanity because of your own humanity. Lots of love. See you on the other side.